What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Podcast for the People.
But Talon, not just another episode. This is the conclusion of the year, kind of a year-end review.
Right.
And we've brought on, as we mentioned last time.
Do you want to give him the title?
You said the executive producer.
The executive producer.
Ladies
Mr.
and gentlemen, put
Dylan
your hands
Brown.
together.
So he's going to be talking, and he's also going to be controlling the podcast at the same time.
Wow.
If that's skill.
Like multitasking?
Yeah, like he's advanced in all that he does. But
I think kind of the heart today we want to do is just kind of sit, talk, and discuss, and kind of just talk maybe past, present, and future of the podcast and all that. For those of you who don't know, Dylan Brown and his wife Paloma met and married at the Way Family Church. That's so neat. Paloma's been with us from the beginning and found her prince in Dylan. And Dylan has been is a strategic part of our team. He oversees our media. He's involved in this and very skilled and strategic. So Dylan, welcome to the podcast, man. What's your thoughts, Dylan?
Love this podcast. I think I looked back on archive, like on Spotify. The earliest one I could find was like early 2018, and I think
wow, 4 years ago.
Staff here, we started filming it when I was on stage, and I was just like looking.
So when did you come on staff here?
February of 2019.
So give context. Talon is at a coffee shop in town.
Yeah.
You come in. How do you guys connect?
Well, we had just been seeing each other there through mutual friends for a little bit, and then we kind of just like introduced each other.
Who went first? Who?
I don't know. Maybe me. I don't know.
And then you told him about the
I
church?
just invited him to church. I was like, hey, like, because I knew he was a Christian. I knew he was going to another church, and I just said, hey, you should check out our church sometime. And then he came. And then that was the day that we were doing, I think it was morning service and night service. So did you come to the morning and then you came to the night as well?
Yeah, I came to the morning service, and I sat with you guys up in the front row. And
Right.
The second service, I came back and I was like shooting video.
Right.
Started the second service.
So he made like this sick little like, I don't know what you call it, but this montage of like the service. And so he was really eager to be a part early on.
Look at how what would appear as ordinary and natural that moment at a coffee shop is.
Yeah.
You come into the world, your whole life changes. Your profession, you find your wife. I mean, what a destiny-defining moments your life has been. It's just since 2019 of where you are. That's cool.
Right place, right time.
That's it, huh? That our steps are ordered by God and how that all unlocks and everything. It's powerful.
Yeah. And you never know whose life you are influencing by taking a step out. That's what I've learned through Dylan. It's like, I'm not saying it's all on me, but if I never like invited him to church, or if I never got him plugged in, maybe he never would have met Paloma. Maybe who knows what he'd be doing right now. So I kind of have all the credit for that.
Let's just real quick. Come on, Paloma. Come over and say hi. Put your arm around your husband. Give him a little peck on. Give him a holy kiss. Ladies and gentlemen, Paloma Brown.
There it is. There it is.
Whoa. And I want to just say it as we do, though. Then, Dylan, you were on staff and working, and then you came to me and felt you needed to step out, and you took on another job. You stayed at the church, and you did. You stayed faithful. You were served here. Nothing was affected in our relationship, but you left staff, so to speak, and served in a different capacity, a different component, and then you came back. And when you came back is when I think we really ramped up to another level, wouldn't you say? Yeah. How do you process all that? Walk us through a little bit of that. So if we go back to 2018 archive podcast, your time, what was that season to you?
The season of being gone? I think it was strategic. I think God was very strategic. I don't think it was anything to do with like, a lot of people burn out in the church. A lot of people burn out on staff. I don't think anything was in my heart like that. I think I really just thought I was going to be on a mission, but but I think God was doing a mission in me,
Hmm.
and it was really cool to experience that. And being away from the church, being involved in some other different things with my profession, I got to experience things. I got to learn things. Like I got to go places, but I think God was just doing a mission in me. And I think coming back, it just made me realize of like, it was more of just confirmation on where I needed to be, because not all opportunities are from God, but I think that He will use them. So I don't think I was ignorant in doing what I wanted to go do, but God was like, okay, like I'm gonna let you make this decision, but you don't know what's gonna be on the other side of it. Not that it's gonna be bad, but you're just gonna have to learn what growth looks like and maturing looks like, and some things look like. So I think it just really gave me a fresh perspective coming back, and a deeper conviction of just coming back and putting the pedal to the metal of ministry, and doing the best that we can do here, and just trying to be sensitive on to push your vision forward of the message and the word and this church. So I don't know, it was a good sabbatical, as you called it.
And wouldn't you say, Talon, within your area of leadership and expertise of leading worship, and then also supplementing and supporting within the ministry of the word and stuff, and then my focus, but that what Dylan does to this ministry in this world, the fans of Flame, it's a vital part to everything within that creative aspect. And
Right. Well, it's like twofold, because we meet in person. So we are, part of our job is, if you think about it, you break it down, like, of course it's a holy sacred moment and it's church, but it's a production heavy moment. We run sound, we run lighting, we run pro presenter on screen. We have camera operators for our live stream. Like, it's a legit production going on every single Sunday, in-person guest experience. But then on the other side of it, it is external communication, meaning we're reaching people that aren't even coming in a physical way. They're looking at us through their screen, through their phone. Right. So yeah, Dylan plays a massive part in both of those worlds, the in-person world and the external part of the world. And part of that is the podcast. I mean, people aren't in this room watching us talk right now. They're watching through their phone, listening through Spotify or Apple, and all of that plays a part in what Dylan does. And it's crucial, because we're in the 21st century, so right? I think so. That's the direction that people are listening, and people are finding out about new things. I mean, even all the people that found us through Instagram was because we put media out and video out on an app, and now a lot of people know about what we do.
I think back, that's so true. Very well said. I think you came back onto the team 2022, February of 2022. Would that be right?
Oh, no, this year.
Yeah, this year, Dylan, this year. But what a year it's been.
Yeah.
I mean, gosh, man, we really launched. This podcast has gone to a whole nother, we didn't just level up.
Yeah.
We went to a different stratosphere.
Oh, yeah.
We're now on radio weekly.
Yeah.
We are now going to approach an hour program every Sunday. Services in-house, out-of-house, and that's all right. I mean, this year there's been some things we've done we've never done before. There's been some avenues we've reached in. So let's kind of step back and talk. I mean, for just a moment, I don't know, in the technical terms, but within the podcast of kind of what we've done, where we're going, what could we do? I mean, I guess the sky's the limit in a sense, right? I mean, what do you guys think with all that? Of course, we got the aspects of YouTube and Instagram. Are we on TikTok?
Apple
Twitter,
Music,
Apple, Spotify. I'm gonna ask Talon, you, Dylan. Okay. Talon, what do you love about this podcast? What do you enjoy? Does it matter to you? Do you like it? What is your heart on it? And then Dylan, what do you love? Because I've said this before.
Yeah.
I've been hesitant. Not that I was kicking and screaming, because I'm not that way, but I don't know, guys. Like, do we need to do this? And what do we have to say and all that? But you guys have really, in love and in honor, but encouraged to this go. So, Talon, what's the podcast? What do you love about it? You enjoy it?
Yeah, I love it because it gives us a platform and a voice to express topics and talk about things in a way that we can't do on a Sunday. because Sundays are game day.
Right.
We almost live week to week just for that service on Sunday. And right now we just get to sit down in a casual way and talk about things that are important to us in a loose, like we wouldn't be talking like this on stage. You know, on stage it's a different level of communication. You're communicating to a room full of people. You're engaging with them. You're following all your notes. So what I love is that it gives you and I an opportunity to express our hearts in a deeper way. And I also love that how we do it. I don't know how everybody else does it, but it doesn't feel too taxing to me. It doesn't feel like I have no energy afterwards. It feels very casual in the sense of it's another way to put content out and to express our hearts, but not at the cost of taking all of our energy away. Like I don't think doing this takes anything away from my week or my energy, if that makes sense. So that's what I enjoy about it. And talking with you, I think it's a cool father-son duo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. So good. Dylan, what do you think about all this, man? You're more in that world.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite things is from you, your emphasis to all of this is always excellence. So it's always cool to see, like, you know, we might not have the most subscribers as like some of these other podcasts, or, you know, we're getting there, but I mean, the level of production that we have in this room, what we're doing, like you are the head of that and you're pushing that. So I think for me, it's cool. Like, you're not treating it, you treat it as if we are the number one podcast in the world, from like you want to put everything into it, but we're not yet. So I think it's cool. Like, you have all the best stuff, you know, like you want to do excellent stuff. For me, I love that because we have so much more to go. And I think we're just getting started with this podcast because I was talking to Talon yesterday about some other podcasts, and, you know, there's tons of Christian podcasts. There's tons of other podcasts of, you know, whoever, you know, but I think this is something unique that not a lot of people have discovered yet, that they will, because it is so pure. It's so unscripted. Like, we literally we came into this, okay, let's talk about the year. Let's talk about the podcast. And to me, there's going to be a lot of fruit from that, because people are going to get tired of the script. People are going to get tired of everybody talking about the same thing. So I think there's going to be a time where people would just want something authentic and raw. And that's what this podcast provides every single week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think, like, if just the way it's set up, I'm kind of in the middle, like, within the ministry context, these guys are like a right and left hand. They're very strong. They're very gifted at a young ages. God's given them much responsibility. But I often look at Talon and you guys, I kind of see you guys as compliments, but you guys are very distinct. Like, what a complementary duo you both are too, and how you talk and strategize and stuff like that. So we've had some growth this last year. Maybe some highlights, where we are, what could 2023 bring? Where do we go? What do we think in a sense?
Yeah. Well, before that, I think it's so cool that Dylan said that the earliest thing he found was 2018. That's 4 years ago. We've been doing this for 4 years, but it really feels like we've only been doing it with excellence for like the last year. And I think it's encouraging for people out there that it whenever you go into a new endeavor, into a new project, into a new whatever it is, if you're starting something up, that be okay with those first couple tries, those first couple years of you just figuring it out. And as long as you're committed and devoted to getting better with time, like, you don't have to worry about, like, we didn't start off with all of this stuff.
Right.
If you go back and watch the earliest video of us, it was horrible. Like, horrible. Please don't go check it out. But now we run a program that I would send to any one of my friends and any person that I can think of.
You would?
Totally.
So you guys say that. Wow.
We run a legit thing but I think it's because we use the best with what we have in every season that we have it.
Yeah.
So that, just to say that, like, kudos to sticking the course and getting better with time. But yeah, I think that this next year we could dive more into having discussions with each other, but also bringing, like how Dylan is in this discussion. You and I could almost host a podcast with another pastor, another creative in the church world, bringing a whole other perspective into our world. I think that a lot of people would be interested in incorporating guests and us being able to merge the podcast for the people with the personality and perspective of another person. I think that could be something to grow in and could add a lot to the podcast.
Great. I guess in my mind, and I have, we all have weird idiosyncrasies. Is that a word? I think that's what we all have.
Sounds fancy.
Huh?
It sounds fancy, yeah.
Someone fact check it. Yeah. My mind goes like, how much further can we go? You know, I feel like we max out. We're done. We hit it like that one after spiritual warfare. I'm like, we've maxed out. But how do we keep? Well, we just keep going, Dylan. I mean, what do we keep for guests? That's a huge aspect. Yeah. But in my mind, it's like, I don't think that way with church and the message, because the Bible is endless, of course. So, but it's like, how much long can this podcast just keep going?
How many conversations can we have?
Yeah, how many more? What do you think, Dylan?
I think it's endless. I think there's always a conversation to be had, whether it's, something that, a verse that you got today that, you guys talked for 45 minutes on, because it's always going to bring a fresh perspective. There's always going to be a little nugget. So even like that whole last podcast, if someone got one little thing that was life transforming, to me, that's along with your vision of if it's just one person that got touched. So for me, I see it as if we put all this into this podcast for one person to get something out of it, I think that's a win, along from the amount of growth that we had. So I think this is limitless with the people that will come on that will be thrown off by how the podcast is, because it's like, oh, you guys, we're not going to meet before and talk about, like, what are we talking about? I don't know. We'll find out when we film.
Yeah, it's kind of true.
So I think it'll be something interesting for people to be a part of, because I think here we don't do what everybody else does, and that's what I love. We're like, you want to hear from God and lead us, and we follow, and we don't do it anybody else's way, but how you feel led by God. And that's always fun, because we're always on an adventure.
And we kind of mentioned it, but what, like, we've had some growth. How do we calculate, like, what took place this last year? What do you think? We have been doing it for a while. We are somewhat embarrassed about 2018 up until now.
Right.
We hit it at different moments and stuff, but like, do we feel like we've hit a rhythm? I mean, we sit here on Thursdays, knock it out mid-morning, get our coffees, and then they get posted the next day, edited and stuff like that. Where things are at now, like, you guys are excited. We've hit some, like, we got something legit here. Yeah. Why and what and why is everyone listening to podcasts more than anything now? Like, what do you guys? I mean, what's taking place?
Like, in the world, or what? Like, why
world,
are people
both in our world? Both.
Yeah. Well, I think the reason why why podcasts are so popular is because everyone is searching for their ideals and searching for an opinion on something, and listening to people talk shapes our opinions on real life things. So the reason why, like, it sounds silly. Why would I listen to somebody talk if I'm not in the room and if I'm not engaging? But the reality is that your opinion on something is a lot more powerful than what we've ever known. So I think that's why it's important to have this podcast, is because we try not to come from our own opinion. We try to shape our opinion around what the Word says and what the Bible says and what Jesus would think. Not perfect at it, obviously, but podcast for the people. We're trying to help people have a better understanding, a better perspective, a better opinion on these things that are happening in real time, So that's number one why I think people are interested in podcasts. And
I do love our name. You came up with our name. I think it's a cool name. Do you like our name, Dylan?
Yeah, it's pretty sick.
We have a little text thread. It's
PFTP
with the mic. It's our little three-way. I love podcasts with people.
I was thinking, like, if we ever changed our name, I think, like, Deep Dive would be a sick name.
Oh.
Because we go deep into...
Deep Dive.
Because people are always like, oh, you guys, is it going to be funny or is it this? But sometimes we just go deep. Yeah.
Like, we just go instant. Probably not.
I don't know. I don't know if people think we're funny. But we're just deep. Like, we just...
Deep dive.
We go deep into it. But, yeah, I love our name. But, yeah, I think for us, it's important to keep it fresh, too. So if we're at this standstill where it's like, what do we do? That's almost an inclination to switch it up and change it up the flow, because you don't want to be stagnant. Because we're doing ourselves a disservice and we're doing the audience a disservice if we're kind of in this stagnant, don't really know what to talk about, or is this really helping anybody? So I think that's a healthy gauge of like, even just this podcast right now, like how we're free flowing and how we're talking, like this spices it up, you know? So I think we just have to be creative and like, how do we keep it fresh?
But you guys, no doubt, Talon, Dylan, Talon, think that podcast and podcasting is a part of the future, hands down, 100%.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I made our Instagram. I mean, so we've been doing it since 2018. I made our Instagram September 22nd, and then I posted that clip of you talking about the end times, and that video has now over 530 plus thousand views, 45,000 likes, over 1,100 comments. Our Instagram is almost at 5,700 followers in the span of what, 4 months, 3.5 months. So I think, you know, there is people out there searching for something other than, you know, obviously what's out there. But that's the cool thing, is we just add to that. So I think it's cool to see the fruit of your guys's, 4 years of doing this. You know, like obviously the first 2 years they were just audio. You know, there was no visual aspect to it.
Yeah.
But even on like the back end of things, like people that listen to audio only, you know, seeing how much more people are tuning in on that side of things is cool too, because people not only are just watching it, but they're listening to it too, you know, wherever that's at. So I think it's cool to see that way too.
And now, I mean, we've developed YouTube. You've developed all those little neat things, and I know I kind of keep repeating that. You guys are like, get out, probably get beyond that. I think if we step back too, it was really cool. April Pollock, my brother Troy's wife, back in that 2017, 18, to my knowledge, the only ones we really know, we can almost say pioneers, maybe we should send an offering, was Erwin McManus and his son Aaron.
Yeah.
Like that's what was going on, and it's battle ready. I wasn't, you were influenced by that and loved it. I was aware of that, but April's like, Matt and Talon, you guys are father and son. I really think you guys have something there. So April really kind of wouldn't you say, kind of moved us into that.
She kind of blew on the ember to keep it alive.
Had we started yet? Do you remember? Or?
I'm not sure, but it's definitely a dynamic that sets us apart from a lot of people.
Yeah.
Is that there's not a lot of podcasts or segments of media that is like pastor and his son that have a relationship of father and son, but then also share a relationship of pastor and worship leader. That's the boss, that's the coworker, but then they do life like there's just so much that of that dynamic that I don't know. I feel like I would be interested in watching that. Yeah. So hopefully people find that interesting. But yeah, like it's family is tied into this. Calling is tied into this. We share a lot in common, and I think that we're very fortunate to have that unique edge to us. Even bringing Caleb on, even bringing Mom on, we're a family. We've done this church thing and this ministry thing as a family from the beginning, and it's cool to now have another branch of that, another room in the house, so to say, where the family it's still in there. You know, we'll probably have the girls on here one day, but I think it's important to show the
model
world,
family.
Yeah, we're Christians and we're pastors and all this stuff, but we're a family and we do it together.
I agree.
So it's just interesting to see everybody's flow, you know, and not that we're trying to be the poster child of the American church, but I think part of our ministry is influencing families and influencing husbands to wives and children and children's to parents, because
we need that modeled so strong, huh?
Of course, family is the fundamental. It's everything.
I think I've said that God rewards our faith with family, but I just think back to that Noah built an ark for the salvation of his family, and we do need that. We absolutely do need that. Yeah. What do you got? I don't want to. I'm like I'm spearheading today. So do you guys have anything you want to say now?
You're kind of the Q&A guy today.
Do we need to develop? I think it would be cool in addition to guest, maybe taking it on the road a little bit, huh? Like
Totally, yeah.
doing it in different
Switching it
locations,
up.
different spots, different things would be cool. Maybe traveling a little bit. I'm excited. I think that in March, hearing it here first. That's hard to say, but when we launch The Way of Truth, the book, maybe we could go out and do some different interviews with that and other people. That would be kind of fun to do and explore what that would look like. Abby keeps thinking, we should maybe utilize this on the radio and some kind of a segment. Do you think, though, we need to develop more of a team? I mean, how long? I mean, Dylan, you're kind of like, do we have to develop more? I mean, are we going to have to
I think it'll
hire
grow.
out help, or what does it look like going forward?
Yeah, I think it'll grow. I mean, we're doing great for what we have right now, but a part of growth is bringing on more people. Like,
Yeah.
I kind of envision, right now we run a solid setup of like 3 cameras stationary, but I think it could be sick to have somebody like moving around with the camera, just adding a whole different flow like that. But so that would require more people, you know?
Yeah.
I know Dylan probably has ideas on that too.
More people.
Send in your applications.
Is
TP@thewayfamilychurch.com.
yeah. Podcast for the people's hiring.
And clips, like
Yeah,
editors, because that's right now, it's never been easier for people to show their face to a large group of people.
Wow.
With Instagram Reels, with TikTok. Before, you had to pay ads and hope that people even cared about what you just spent $200 or $300 on. It may not even be fruitful, but that was the only way to get seen, right? But now you post a reel. We posted a reel from our account, and it has 500,000 views, and we didn't pay a dime for that.
Have we put much? I mean, aside from our equipment and stuff, we're not
No budget into marketing.
no budget
At all.
This is nothing. Yeah. Right.
Right.
We've never done ads or advertisements, or it's just really
Don't
been
need to.
organic. It's an organic evolution, evolving manifestation of it. Yeah, it's cool.
No fake followers here.
Yeah.
Well, I got to remember, like when so Dylan mentioned September of this year. So we're talking 3 or 4 months ago. We sit here at the end. This is the very end, December 2022. They're like showing me this like podcast, this Instagram account growing, which we got to be honest, in my life and in our ministry, it's been, Paloma can attest, slow, snail pace growth. It just has been. Just steady, one here, one there, nothing drastic, nothing dramatic. So all of a sudden, like this podcast for the people, Instagram accounts like growing. Like I remember one night we were like at the house, like on a Monday night doing something, and like it grew like 1,000 people in like a 12-hour period. Okay.
Right.
So I'm like, this is weird. This is strange. This is not our grace. This is not what God's done in our life. So I remember being in the office one day, and I'm like, okay, Dylan and Talon, come here. I'm going to ask you, raise your right hand. I need you to be completely honest right now. Dylan, Talon, have we bought followers? Because we're like at 3,000 or 4,000 in like a month. That's not how we roll here. Something's got to be up with this. I'm like, Dylan, raise your right hand. He's like, what did you say?
I solemnly swear that I have not bought followers.
Yeah. So it was hard for me to even believe that.
Yeah, because when you don't see success like that, it's almost too good to be true.
Yeah.
Because our church Instagram has like 2,000 followers for 15, 14 years of being a ministry. And then we put the podcast out, and it's like 5,000. But people are looking at it as like 5,000 is not a lot. Like it's not. In the grand scheme of things,
True.
Our little 5,000, it's a big win for us.
Yeah.
But to everybody else, it's probably nothing.
No big deal.
But it's just been cool to see the fruit of putting a message out, it relating and connecting with people, it being shared, it being boosted by the algorithm. And I just love that. Like, we should all be utilizing social media so much more, right? That's how we advertise this, is we post those little clips and those little snippets of what we're saying. Of course, sometimes to our own hurt, because are people only listening to those, or is it directing them back to the podcast? Like, we'll never know.
We don't know.
But at least we're doing our due diligence to take a bite size, almost like when you go through Costco or Sam's Club and remember that they would give you the sample. Oh my gosh! As a kid, that was my favorite place to go because.
Babe, let's take the kids to Costco for dinner tonight and just sample the whole store.
Do they even do that anymore?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
They do?
Walk around and do it all the time.
Oh, fire! Oh my.
Still to this day.
Yeah.
Wow. So this is us. This is us with our little booth with our little sample. So if they're hearing a clip, they're just getting a sample of the whole thing, hoping that they buy the rest of the meal. But
do you guys have a 2022 highlight or thing that's, if I had to ask you, like, is there a moment that you cherished or celebrated? Was there something that was like, oh, that was just a sweet spot or a sweet moment? Or
I think when we launched the social medias, because nothing changed. Like, we were still doing what we were doing, but people started listening and seeing it. So it was cool that we just took a little shift and it reached so many more people. I think that was so rewarding. Not that we do it for, and this is the very analytical podcast that we're doing right now, because we don't talk about numbers. We don't talk about.
This is so not.
This is
not
so
me or
behind
us.
the scenes, and like, this isn't necessarily our heart for the majority of it, but it's fun to talk about. But I don't know, like seeing fruit is always so rewarding. Yeah. You plant, and then you see a little bit of fruit, and it's so like, oh, this is awesome. So that was my highlight.
I think my highlight is seeing people within the church be excited about it.
Wow.
True.
I think it, like Talon's saying, it's easy to, when things get posted, someone from Kansas City is getting touched by it. But I think when your home base is excited about it, to me, that's a good gauge of, how it's doing. Because if people inside are excited about it, because if we don't have a home team that's rooting for us, then we can't go out on the road and be good. So I think it's cool to see people, young people, older people in the church that are excited about the podcast. So to me, that's cool. To me, they like to watch it, enjoy it, and are excited about the growth of it too. So to me, that's a good gauge. I like to see people be excited about it, that we know.
That's great.
Yeah. We've been learning a lot too. Learning whose toes we want to step on, what things to avoid. I get slammed in the comments all the time.
Have you been slammed lately then?
I think it was just that
it's not bad. Yeah. Sometimes people say the dumbest things sometimes. Like, they will literally miss the entire point of a clip and just argue. Like, it's a skill. Yeah. Like, I'm like enamored by their ability to come up with something to find negative about the most positive clip in the world. People will. The big one that I posted on my Instagram was the one where I was talking about man's rejection could be God's protection and that whole thing. Yeah. Kind of just talked about what you've taught me, and people will just rip me like, you're so delusional, you're just a horrible human being, and that's why people don't want to be around you. Like, you are the problem. It's not that God's trying to protect you from people. Like, you just need to own the fact that you're just a horrible human being to be around, and that's why you're so lonely. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, these people are hurting, man.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's taught us a lot to stand for the gospel always, but like pick and choose what battles to step into.
Engage in, yeah.
Because we could sit here and we could milk the life out of every little thing and get a reaction, because that's how people grow, right? Some people build their whole entire YouTube channels and podcast channels and Instagrams and social media off of getting reactions out of people. So I think there's a good balance of, like what you said with that one clip about the end times, like, you weren't intentionally trying to get a reaction out of people. It just happened, right?
So organic. But
we're trying to just be careful and navigate, like, what relevant things are worth talking about to get a reaction out of people, right, versus just saying things that are inevitable, Because I don't know. I don't want to be I don't want to be known as the podcast that is intentionally poking at everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I've seen that, and it's kind of just, it's a little corny.
Well, I guess in a sense of vision or in leadership, I want us to be distinct,
Right.
be us, carry a voice,
Yeah.
be fresh, and come into that space with some clarity, biblical understanding, and glean from, be influenced by others, be a part of, but also have an identity that we feel
Right.
God's grace called and anointed us for. I think that's very important to us, that we stay on track, hit the target. We don't know what the target is yet because it's still evolving, but the target, I guess, of who we are, what our ministry is, and what we feel is our contribution to the world. I think that's important, and we're navigating that at times. And even at times I've had it like, hey guys, I know, like we want to get we want to get those clips and get it, but it's like just let's stay focused. God will touch it. Let's do that, right? At times, like, we gotta stay true to that.
Yeah, there's definitely a balance, because you don't want to be too heavy-sided on, one thing. This is a podcast for the people, so you kind of do have to talk about things that people are interested about.
Yeah.
And give them a perspective on, this is happening in our world right now. Here's a biblical way to think about it.
Yeah.
But then there's also those times where it's like, we're going to talk about something that is not in the news right now, that is not a huge subject in the world, because we feel like this is important.
It could resource your life.
Exactly. And I'd say most of our episodes are like that.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think the cool thing too is like we put so much out, but there's such an archive too, like
Yeah.
we can go back to, because trending headlines are only going to be like clickbait things are only going to be, that video is not timeless. We
Right.
put something out and it's going to be relevant in 2 years because we're just talking about biblical points and perspectives and truths, and we're not talking about the Qatar World Cup and what matters with that. It's like, yeah, that's cool, but we're creating an archive for people to look at years from now. That first podcast in 2018, there's probably something in there that is
Really good.
relevant now because the same flow has been the same
Very good.
the whole time. So I think that's why I mean, like, it's going to be endless, because like in fashion, like something's created like, oh, like I could wear that in 6 years. I feel like that's like our podcast. We're creating like timeless art.
Right.
Because we're not just, doing this for, like YouTubers are like shoot for the thumbnail. It's like,
Yeah.
we're not doing that. We're just creating stuff for people for lives to be changed. And I think that's why, people might go look at a different podcast, but they're always going to come back here because there's resource here. There's not just, it's not just lukewarm.
Yeah, it's not seasonal. It's not cheap. Like, faith, we can talk about faith, and that's not going to be out of season next week or next year.
Yeah.
We're always going to need faith.
Yeah.
So I think
In a perfect world, if we could shoot for the so-called moon, what would be your ideal gas? Who would be some cool gas that we had in, I mean, what would, do we name drop? I don't know. We don't really know many
might
stuff.
as well.
But who would what would be, again, shoot for the moon, shoot for the stars. We'll go to them, add this to our podcast. Who would be cool?
Well, there's two worlds: the Christian world or the whole.
True.
I think in the Christian world, Louis Giglio would be sick to talk to.
Wow.
Because I feel like he's so articulate and so. I grew up watching what was it, Indescribable?
How Great Is Our God.
The space thing.
Oh,
like
man.
that was so cool as a kid. So I just feel like talking to him.
Louis
would be
Giglio. Passion
fun.
out of Atlanta. He is like a genius, huh?
Totally.
I would love with that said, I would love the first of the year, we're days away from this, they do a
Passion
huge
conference.
passion conference that is like on steroids. It's insane.
Yeah.
Shout out to that. That's an amazing ministry.
Yeah, totally.
Great.
Who else?
So Louis Giglio, I've never met you. I've been in the room with you one time, but may the Lord direct our steps. Jesus.
Make all these little clips and just tag
Send it to them.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a weird dynamic because I feel like back then, 5-6 years ago, there was almost the starting lineup of preachers, like the celebrity preachers. Like, no doubt you need these people at your conference.
Yeah.
I feel like the culture of church is changing to where, of course, there still are huge prominent people in ministry, but for me, growth is like I don't see these people as celebrities anymore, or the wow factor of like, oh,
Yeah.
you're a celebrity. It's more like you're just very successful in your ministry, which I think is a good way to see these people, because I don't think it's healthy to
Idolize, yeah.
to idolize.
But like, Talon, how epic would it be to sit down with Joel for a moment or something, right?
100%. Yeah, totally.
That'd be cool. Irwin, I mean, that'd be probably intimidating. Irwin, he's just
He
like,
would probably,
where do you even
rip
go with
us.
Irwin McManus?
He's so awesome.
Mine for me, I really admire what they've done on Battle Ready because they challenge so many different perspectives. They challenge liberals, they challenge the conservatives, they challenge everybody, and they do such a good job of like. Sometimes they go on their tangents, but I think they do a good job of listening and hitting different dynamics. They're not just like, oh, they're so far right or so far left, because I feel like they go more in like a lot of different topics. But I think it would be really cool to see their dynamic with you guys.
Yeah.
See how that would work.
Like a
Father-son
father-son duo.
That would be
Showdown,
crazy.
huh? Come on, we call the McManuses and the Pollocks meet
That would be
together for a
crazy.
battle-ready collision.
That would
2023.
be sick.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool. And the other one that I think would be super crazy, I would really love to sit down with the Impulsive Show.
Dang.
They are wild, and I think it'd be really interesting.
What's that?
Logan Paul.
Okay, yeah.
YouTuber.
Okay.
There's two guys on there, George Janko and Mike Malak. Come on, boys, let's go.
That's a good one. Or like literally the godfather of podcasting is Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Like he is levels above.
In what way?
everyone
Like what?
else.
I don't know. I've listened to portions of it just because you and Caleb would send me stuff, but he's been doing it for a while. What is it? What?
I don't know if he's the originator of podcasts, but he definitely is the person that you think like, oh, he has the biggest podcast.
And it
in
just
the
seems
world.
he knows his stuff, huh?
He's just good at everything. He
Yeah.
has a little bit of knowledge of like everything. And he's so open and diverse to like his guests, and he has incredible guests and stuff like that. But I think that would be really cool to have you, not even just for me, but like just for these really big secular podcasts, to have a perspective of Christianity from you.
Yeah.
Like I think your knowledge of the Bible would come so in handy with navigating these conversations with these big time podcasters. So like Joe
Wow.
Rogan is huge. Yeah, there's
Rogan
a bunch
has been
of.
podcasting since 2009. He launched the Joe Rogan Experience.
Wow.
Did you fact check that? So he 2009.
Over 10 years.
He's been going, huh? I think that within more of our space, I think you're right, Talon. I think the last couple of years has brought a health and a sobriety to preachers and the leaders. I do think, though, that it is quite supernatural what has happened with Mike Todd and Transformation. That's, like, to me, a pretty sovereign act of God.
Totally.
I think, like, wow, I mean, what God's done in all them, and that story, I just celebrate it. I've been able to, for me, in whatever church space, we lean unashamedly more of a charismatic, spirit-filled, yet doctrinal-based flow. That's our flow. That's our rhythm. We believe in all
Right.
that. But I think wherever the spectrum is, man, the Tim Kellers and Matt Chandler's and the whole church world, whatever space you're in, like it's just all amazing of all those. And I can learn and glean. I think there's so much to learn from everybody. Even a guy like a Nathan Finocchio kind of coming out of nowhere, and he's like now the theologian of the Theos University. I've never done it, don't know anything about it. I admire it. I can just sit back and glean and admire from everything. But I think there's some amazing stories what's happened in the body of Christ now. I think out of the ashes, there's rising up some nameless and faceless or some other things. I think there's a lot to learn, a lot to be said, a lot to be had. Everyone's got their own little function and flow and all that. But I do think, I'm just saying that, I think that Michael Todd story is just fascinating. It's just amazing what has happened there. He's like his own beast, man. He's just like this guy is at another level in ways like that, So you see a lot of emerging, maybe fresh voices too out in the world today. That I think Rich Wilkerson is his own man. I think he's how he leads and what he does. I think they're just like
So consistent.
geniuses. Tim Ross, I've never met him. My brother Troy knows him firsthand. Tex on a first name basis. he just says, like you meet this guy, it's like he's his own like encyclopedia in ways, and he's really, really fresh out there. I would love a guy I really admire and I think is an amazing pastor. It's Robert Morris. I was at a I feel the Lord when I said that. I was at a Planet Shaker conference with Pastor Russell Evans, probably 2014. We're in the arena there in Melbourne, Australia. We're worshiping. It's probably 30, 40 minutes in the service. And I look to my left, and I see Pastor Robert Morris walk into the arena. And you guys, I'm not kidding. It was like a light switch went on. When he walked in, the atmosphere shifted. And I said, that's a man of God. It was subtle, but I knew it. It just shifted. And Lord, I want that. Lord, whatever's on that man is special. But there was just something in the mantle of his life that shifted. And to me, Robert Morris is sound. He's got revelation. He's a real, to me, pastor. I'll never forget that moment. It touched my heart in such a special way. And I have cried out to God, I want, Lord, whatever he's at, wherever he walks in, I want something on my life that carries that shift in the atmosphere. I think he's an amazing, he's just so practical. He's so authoritative. He doesn't, I don't know. I feel like sometimes I'm too passionate. I'm too but he's just so he just is who he is.
Calm
I think
and
he's
collected.
calm. He's really, really powerful. Would love to have Pastor Jensen Franklin on. He was so gracious to do the forward of my first book. I'm just so honored and appreciative. I can't thank him enough for that, having him on. To me, he's so relevant still. He stays fresh. I mean, it's just all these years, Pastor Jensen to me has an ability to bring an in-season word every time I hear him. It's just like every time he has, that was the Lord. Like I heard, that was the word of the Lord. Like there's a grace and a gift on him to bring a fresh word that I really admire. Yeah. And I really, really appreciate in those ways. So I don't know, we're talking
streaming a little bit. Yeah. So if anybody has any connection to those people, send them this video.
We'll pay.
Will we?
We'll pay to play. I'm kidding. I don't know.
What do we have to give it?
What's our podcast budget?
What's the budget,
kidding.
Dad?
I'm just kidding. Touch it, Jesus, huh? Any last minute comments? I mean, hey, Happy New Year to our podcast for the people. Happy New Year. Man, 2 Corinthians 13:14, Paul concludes the letter, the epistle, what's known biblically as a benediction. He says, the love of the Father, the grace of Jesus, and the sweet communion, koinonia of the Holy Spirit be with you. May the love of the Father, the grace of Jesus, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with you. Let's believe for the best. This year has purpose. It has destiny. It has distinction. Let's enter in to this new year. We love you. We'll see where this goes. Lord, touch it, use it, anoint it for his glory. And all that. Anything, Talon, Dylan, you want to chime in, say, I feel like I'm good, I'm done. We've even said, which was awkward names. That was kind of weird, but it was good, right?
That's cool. All right. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, just excited for the new year, and we're so honored and privileged to hold your ear for a little bit of conversation every week, whether you've been listening for a long time or whether you're brand new here. Our goal is just to get better, to even if it's a little bit at a time. The goal is just always to do our best and let God do the rest. And that's our heart, is that you guys would just feel closer to Jesus, that your perspective would be on him. We're growing, we're learning, but we're committed to being the best that we can be. A lot in store for the new year, and I don't know, maybe some surprise. Like I just was thinking, like some merch could be cool. Some podcast for the people merch.
Hey,
that could be sick. People rep it. People, those OG fans that really love it, they can just walk around with like a hat or like a shirt or something.
Yeah, let's do it.
Maybe we'll do something like that. But anyways, to connect with you guys more, I think that's the goal for next year too. Maybe we could host gatherings, like podcasts for the people gatherings where we record in front of them. That could be cool.
Talon, I love you. I love doing this together. I'm proud of you. Thankful for you. You're an amazing young man.
Thank you.
You'll be 25 here in a little bit.
Yeah.
Dylan, what a gift. Very proud of you. Thankful for you. Love you. Paloma, you're an unsung hero too. You're an inspiration.
Cool. See you guys next time.